The television turned on by itself at 3 a.m. No one touched the remote. No one was even awake. But there it was, a soft, flickering blue glow bleeding under the bedroom door, casting strange shadows down the hallway. And from somewhere deep inside the static, something that sounded almost like breathing. Almost like it was waiting. Mara was 12 years old when her family moved into the old house on Crescent Lane. It was the kind of house that made people slow their cars down when they drove past it. Not because it was ugly, but because something about it felt wrong in a way that was hard to explain. The windows seemed too dark. The front porch tilted just slightly to the left. And the oak tree in the yard had grown so close to the house that its branches scraped the roof at night like long, thin fingers trying to get inside. Her parents said it was a fresh start. Her dad had lost his job. Her mom was tired. Her little brother Danny, who was only 7, didn't understand any of it. He just carried his stuffed rabbit from room to room and asked when they were going home. The first strange thing Mara noticed was the television. It was old. Much older than anything her family owned. It sat in the corner of the living room like it had always been there, which, according to the landlord, it had. He said the last family left it behind. When Mara asked why, the landlord just smiled in a thin, uncomfortable way and said they moved in a hurry. Her dad tried to throw it out. But the thing weighed far more than it should have for its size, and after 30 minutes of struggling, he gave up and pushed it against the wall. He said he'd deal with it on the weekend. He never did. On the third night, the television turned on by itself. Mara heard it from her bedroom. A low hum, then static, then a high-pitched whine that made her teeth hurt. She crept into the hallway and saw the glow under the living room door. When she pushed the door open, the screen was showing nothing but white noise. Waves of black and white fuzz rolling slowly like a sleeping ocean. She reached for the power button. The static changed. It wasn't random anymore. It shifted and shaped itself the way clouds sometimes look like faces, except this was not a cloud and the face was not a friendly one. It was pressed close to the screen from the other side, like someone pushing their face against a fogged-up window. The features were stretched wrong, the mouth pulled too wide, the eyes dark empty holes. Mara screamed and ran back to her room. Her parents checked and found nothing. Her dad said it was her imagination. Her mom sat with her for a while and told her old televisions sometimes glitch in strange ways. But Mara noticed that neither of them looked directly at the screen while they were in the room. The next morning, Danny came down to breakfast holding his stuffed rabbit tightly. He said the TV man had visited his dreams. He said the TV man wanted them to watch. Mara felt something cold press against the inside of her chest. She looked at her parents. Her mom stared down at her coffee. Her dad cleared his throat and talked about the weather. But his hand, Mara noticed, was shaking slightly as he held his cup. That evening, she went to the local library. She searched the address of their house in the newspaper archives the way she had seen people do in movies. She found an article from 9 years ago. Small, tucked in the corner of a page, easy to miss. It was about a family who used to live at their address. The article said the family had stopped leaving the house. Neighbors reported seeing the blue glow of a television through the windows at all hours. When someone finally called for a welfare check, the police found the family sitting in a row on the sofa in front of the television. They were all staring at the screen. The television was not plugged in. Like this story, hit that like button and share it with someone brave enough to watch. Subscribe and turn on notifications because the next broadcast starts soon. And trust me, you do not want to miss the beginning. Mara did not sleep that night. She lay in the dark staring at the ceiling and listening to the house breathe around her. The pipes knocked. The branches scraped. And somewhere downstairs, just beneath the edge of hearing, she could feel more than hear the low hum of the television, steady and patient, like a heartbeat that was not her own. In the morning she told her parents what she had found at the library. Her dad said it was a coincidence. Old houses had histories and not all of them were pleasant, but that didn't make them haunted. He said the word haunted in a firm, dismissive way, like he was closing a door on it. Her mom asked where she had heard such things and whether she had been spending too much time on the internet. Neither of them looked at the television. That was when Mara understood. They already knew something was wrong. They just weren't willing to say it out loud, because saying it out loud made it real. She decided to figure it out herself. That night she set her phone alarm for 2:50 a.m., 10 minutes before the television had first turned on. She crept downstairs in the dark and sat across the room from it, keeping her eyes on the black screen. She had her phone in one hand ready to record. Her heart was beating so loud she was sure the house could hear it. At exactly 3 a.m., the screen lit up. But this time it wasn't static. This time it showed a hallway. Dark, narrow, filmed from above like a security camera. It took Mara a moment to realize she recognized the torn wallpaper and the crooked light fixture and the small round stain on the carpet near the third door. It was her hallway. The one upstairs. Right now. And something was standing at the end of it. It was tall, too tall for the ceiling, so it was bent forward, its head tilted to the side at an angle that looked deeply wrong, like a question mark made of bone and shadow. It faced away from the camera, but she could see its shoulders, thin as wire hangers, rising and falling with slow, deliberate breaths. Then it turned its head. Not its body. Just its head. All the way around. And it looked directly into the camera. Directly at Mara. She dropped her phone and ran. She took the stairs 3 at a time and burst through Danny's door. He was already sitting up in bed, wide awake, his stuffed rabbit clutched against his chest and his face pale and calm in the way that was somehow worse than fear. He said the TV man had told him something. He said the TV man told him that watching goes both ways. Mara grabbed her brother's hand and ran to her parents' room. She shook them awake and screamed at them to get out of the house right now. For once, maybe because of the raw terror in her voice, they didn't argue. Her dad grabbed his keys. Her mom grabbed Danny. They ran downstairs in the dark. At the bottom of the stairs Mara looked back. The living room doorway was glowing blue. And from inside the static she heard a sound she would spend the rest of her life trying to forget. It was a voice, low and folded and wrong, like a recording played backwards and then forwards again and then backwards once more. It said 7 words. It said, "You watched. Now I know where you are." They drove away and never came back. They left everything behind, the clothes, the food, the furniture. All of it. They stayed in a motel 3 towns over, and in the morning her dad called the landlord and told him they were done with the house. The landlord was quiet for a long moment and then said, very softly, that he understood. He said others had called him from that same motel before. He said the television always found a new family eventually. 3 weeks later, Mara was in the motel room flipping through channels when the signal cut out. The screen filled with static. White noise rolled across it in slow, quiet waves. Deep in the fuzz, something shifted. Danny put down his stuffed rabbit, walked to the television, and pressed his small hand flat against the screen. He smiled in a way Mara had never seen on his face before. "It found us," he said. "They thought leaving the house would save them. But the signal was never tied to the house. It was tied to the eyes that watched. And now it had all of theirs.